Good morning, everybody. Let me introduce first. My name is Jyoti, and I work as an IT architect in an MNC in Bangalore. I am creating videos for school students, high school students, as a hobby, and I am touch basing many topics which are not taught in a regular school. I believe that high school is a time when many things like this have to be taught to the students, while it is not as part of the academic syllabus that is created for students in India. That is why this is my attempt to give my one penny contribution to the students back in the world. Thank you. So, topic under discussion is communication skills, and as part of this presentation, what I'm trying to communicate to the kids is how do you communicate? What is the best effective way of communication? And what are the different types of communication? And what is good and what is bad communication? And how do you improvise the communication skills as a student and going along in your own careers or in your life? Communication is an essential part of life. It has nothing to do with only finding a job or a business. Communicating well about what you need and what you do not need with your parents, with your friends, with your teachers, with your neighbors, everybody and anything is communication. So, having an effective communication is extremely important. Now, there are two types of communications, very basic level. One is a verbal communication and the other one is a non-verbal communication. As the word suggests, verbal communication is about words, about anywhere where you actually either speak words in any language that you prefer. It's not about language, it is language independent. But whenever there are words involved, where you are actually saying, for example, Mummy, I am hungry, I want a glass of milk, is communication. That is part of verbal communication because it involves sentences which involves words. Another example is when you write a leave letter to your teacher. Dear teacher, tomorrow there is a function at home and I won't be able to attend the school. This involves writing words in sentences. So this is also a part of verbal communication. Anywhere, any type of communication, whichever language it is, be it your native language or any foreign language or a language at school like English or Hindi or French, any of these languages where the words are involved in forming sentences, whether you write it or you say it to somebody else, is called verbal communication. As the word suggests again, it is part of verbal communication. Any other communication where it does not involve words is non-verbal communication. Let's take a guess. How do you communicate when you do not use words? It's based on your body language. For example, in your entire student life or in your child life, you have seen that when you are actually extremely naughty in your house, your mother may not scold you with words. Your father may not scold you or shout at you for not doing something or for doing something. They may just give you a stare. They may give you a harsh look and you automatically stop doing the naughty things that you're not doing. That is also a communication. The stare at you, an angry look, makes you stop doing anything naughty that you were already doing. That is also a communication without words, without any words involved, without any sentences involved, without saying anything or writing anything. Another example, um, you touch something hot in your kitchen. You might have not said anything, but you suddenly drop the hot vessel, and with the noise, your parents run around. You may not be saying that you burnt your hand, but looking at your expression on the face and the broken pot on the floor, which was hot and you dropped it, they already know that you burnt your hand. There will be an automatic reaction. Why did you touch a hot thing? Or did you burn your hands? Let's put ointment on your hands. Or you may be crying. So that all part where there were no words involved, the moment you dropped, you are crying. That's a way a body is expressing itself and communicating that you were hurt because you cried. So crying, smiling, or anything, an angry look, all these are part of non-verbal communication where your body is talking more than what your words are talking. You never said anything to your parents that I burnt my hands. You were just crying. So these are different examples of non-verbal communication. The basic level of communication is either through words or through your body language. Having said that, let's move ahead. Let's elaborate on verbal communication. Now, as we said earlier, verbal communication is either you talk, that's your speech, or you're writing something and communicating to the other person, or a group of people, or a bigger audience. Now, let's go through in depth what speech and writing skills are. Now, when it comes to speech, what is the best communication skills with respect to speech, with respect to verbal communication, but speech? One should be clear and concise. Now, if I have to say, or your teacher says, today the homework is in your English subject, you read lesson 2 and you read all the pages and come back tomorrow and we will discuss the lesson. One of you will have to explain each paragraph tomorrow morning in the school. This is your homework. In this conversation, the entire concept of what the homework is all about is something the teacher was communicating to you in very clear and very concise. What does it mean clear? The teacher was very clear about what the homework was. The homework was about reading your English lesson, this chapter, say chapter 3, and she also was very concise or to the point that you read, go home, read the lesson, come back tomorrow in the class. Each of the students will be explaining one paragraph in the entire lesson to the entire class. So it was precise or concise, to the point, and it was very clear. It was not ambiguous. In tomorrow, read the lesson and come back. How is this sounding from read chapter 3? Come back tomorrow in the class. Each one of you will have to explain one paragraph each. Which is more clear? Which is not clear? The unclear part here was read a lesson. So if you are having 10 lessons in your English notes, which lesson to read? And after reading, what is the further thing? You just read and leave it? No, the clarity was you will come back tomorrow in the class and explain one paragraph each. So it is clear, to the point. So the best part of verbal communication or the best way of communicating when you are talking to somebody is to be clear and to the point or concise or precise. The second most important point is courtesy. Using the words like please, thank you, may I, kindly, these are the some of the words where you are not demanding something to the other person and you're not hurting. You're being modest and you need to talk with respect not just to your elders or to your youngers or to your peers. It's not about the age group, but language is all about giving respect and taking respect when you are talking to somebody else. So using the words like please, etc., is a part of the courtesy and it needs to be well maintained. So the best speech or the best communication skills is always about being courteous. The next part is about speed. When it comes to speed, see, now I am actually explaining the entire communication skills with you. How would it look like when I continue this, saying that okay, communication is all about verbal spoken communication and non-verbal communication, and verbal communication includes speech and writing skills, and you need to be precise, concise, speed, simple language examples, taking questions. Does it make you understand the whole entire concept easily? Or when I am speaking to you at this speed, explaining you with lot of details, the speed of what? The speed of words that you put in sentences and how fast you speak with the other person makes a lot of difference. One should always speak at a speed where the other person understands. There is nothing called this is fast communication or slow communication. The communication is about having a speed with which the person who's listening to you should understand. Because you are talking to a person to communicate something, to communicate a point, to communicate an expression, to communicate a scenario or something that is about to happen or happened or some kind of an information that you want to pass on. When you want to pass on an information, you are expecting the person whom you are passing on to understand. So if you are very, very fast, the other person may not understand. If you are extremely slow, the other person may get bored. He may not listen to you. So having the right speed with the words that you are using is extremely important. Simple language. Now coming to simple language. Example. Now, when I am actually explaining the verbal communication and speech part, I am using words like clear, courtesy, speed. I can use the word velocity. I can use the word precise, clarity of thought, clarity of mind. I can use instead of courtesy, I would use words that are not disrespectful. Which is more understandable, the word speed or the word velocity at a higher velocity or supersonic velocities? Who understands words like that? When you are communicating to the other person for an information, it is also important that person's vocabulary is equivalently simpler or harder. So if you are using words which are non-understandable, then you are not able to pass the information. You are failing in passing the right information to the right person. So for that purpose, you need to use simpler language. If you are using vocabulary which has very high-fi words or harder words or tougher words or non-generic words, which means normal colloquial language, if you do not use certain words, then you should not use those words while communication, because the other person's vocabulary may not be as high as what you are. So it is better to use simpler language so that the information that you are communicating to the other person goes clearly and concisely and elaborately, and the other person understands what you are telling him. Examples. Through the session so far, I have been giving examples at every point. If I do not give examples and I just read out, okay, verbal communication is all about speech and writing skills. And in speech, you need to be clear and concise, courtesy, speed, simple language, examples, taking questions. And I say writing skills, clarity, correctness, conciseness, courtesy, completeness, and completeness. Would you understand better? Or if I would say examples for what clear is, what concise is, what clarity is, what simpler language is, and why I should give. These are the examples that I am giving at every point. Which type of communication is better? For effective communication, Giving an example and explaining your point of view is very important. Now, nonetheless, taking questions. I wish this was an interactive class where I'm talking to you in person and I would pause here and ask you for any questions or any doubts or anything that you did not understand, or if you understood and you have any further questions. Unfortunately, these are recording sessions, but taking questions is extremely important because you will also know that what you have communicated is what the other person understood. Otherwise, there are chances that the other person understands it in a different manner or understands like a partial part of it and partially, and if the other person does not understand completely, then your communication is ineffective. You have not been able to communicate completely for all the information that you wanted to pass on. So it is very important for taking questions and making the other person understand and get a clarity for him or her. That is where the entire communication comes to a closure. So this is all about the speech part under verbal communication. Let's go to writing skills. Writing skills. Now, clarity is similar to having clarity in the speech, because unless until you are clear about what you want to communicate, it is never understood by the other person. So it is always extremely important that you write what you are, or you speak what you are thinking, and your thinking should be very clear. When you have clarity of thought, what you write and what you talk will be very clear. So always have clarity and write it in clear words. The second part is correctness. Now, writing has a different aspect to it, which is not part of speech. Writing includes a language grammar. Whichever language you write, it has a grammar to it. You cannot mix up genders. Instead of saying a friend of yours, a classmate of yours, is supposed to go get a notebook from the staff office, example, you cannot call her a he. You cannot address a boy as she, because the grammar, the genders, the tenses are extremely important. So when you write a sentence, you should have grammatical correctness to the sentences, which is extremely important, because I can say, I can address a boy as she, and I would write my sentence, she went to the staff office and brought the notebook and gave it to the teacher. So who, the person who's reading it, what would he or she understand? Since I said she, so it's not a boy, it's about a lady or a girl. So there is incorrectness in your sentences. So having correct meaning and correct genders, correct grammar is extremely important when you are talking about writing skills. Conciseness is not just about speech, but it's also about writing skills. Say, for example, in your English writing skills, your teacher has asked you to write an essay of about 100 words or 150 words about a particular topic, say dog. Now, when you are actually writing about a dog, you cannot write about animals in general, because the essay is about dog. So it has to be concise, it has to be precise, it has to be the to the point, or the to the point of topic. The topic given to you for the essay writing was dog. So write only about dog. You cannot write about tigers, you cannot write about lions, you cannot write about animals in general. That is why preciseness or conciseness is very important. Courtesy, again, is extremely important whether you talk to somebody or you write. Giving respect and being kind, being courteous is very extremely important. So courtesy is an extremely important aspect about speech as well as writing skills, and it's an extremely important aspect of verbal communication altogether. Thus, concreteness. There is an extreme importance of concreteness when you write skills. In your writing skills, if you're not giving truth, if you are not giving value to the truth, if you are not giving numbers, for example, I might have to say that I have a lot of books at home. I have a library at home. A library in a school can contain 500 books, 100 books, 50 books. When I say I have a library at home, it makes no difference. It makes no sense. When I say I have 100 books at home from fiction novels, I have 50 books of technical knowledge skill subjects. I have another 50 books about storytelling for kids. I have another 50 books of drawings and paintings, etc. So this gives some value. I'm giving the number of books in my library, which increases the value of what I am writing. I can say India has a lots of languages and various cultures. This is another example. A lot of languages, a lot of states, a lot of cultures does not make any difference to a reader who reads about India as an outsider. When I say I have 53 states in my country, all the states have different languages as their primary languages. In every state, the culture of eating, the way they wear clothes, what they eat is different. That is when I'm giving value to what I am writing. So it is extremely important to give concreteness to what you are writing. Completeness. Completeness is about writing everything in whole. Example, my teacher has asked me to write an essay about dog. When I am writing about dog, I am going to write about how it looks. If I have given him a name, I have a pet dog. I am talking about what I have. I'm talking about the way it eats, what it sleeps, how many years it lives, what its likes and dislikes are, and why do I actually like dogs or I dislike dogs. When I touch base about every aspect of dog in my essay, that gives a complete view. It should never be half baked. Writing skills are extremely important when it comes to concreteness and completeness because what you write might remain forever. What you say may be over the moment you complete the sentence. If I say, Mom, I'm hungry, it's over. You already said that, your mother will bring you food, you ate, and it's over. It's already done. The moment you say the sentence or you finish the sentence, Mom, I'm hungry, it's in the past, it's over. You already told her. But when you write, Mama, I love you on a piece of paper and give it to your mother, she may put it on the fridge with a magnet on. She may save it forever. You may have written something in a book. The book remains forever and ever for next 10 decades. So something that you write always stays longer for many years as compared to what you say to a person. So having concreteness and completeness in writing skills is a very, very important aspect which cannot be forgotten. So I'm going to pause here because this is verbal communication, one part of the total types of communication. The whole of verbal communication and non-verbal communication, and verbal communication includes speech and writing skills. In both the cases, you need to be clear, concise, courtesy is extremely important. But when you talk, a speed, simple language, and examples is very important. At the end of verbal communication, asking for what they understood or if they have any question and answering them is important. Whereas in writing skills, other than being clear, grammatical correctness is important and concreteness and completeness is also important. This is where we end verbal communication. Let's go to nonverbal communication. Having said that, nonverbal communication is always all about your body language. For example, this is facial expressions. You don't have to say, I am happy. When you're smiling or you're laughing, it shows that you're happy. And whether you tell your friends you're sad, you're upset, or when your mom scolds you or teacher scolds you, you put a long face, you put a sad face. And you don't have to tell people that you are sad. Looking at your face, they can tell you whether they are happy, sad, just don't like something, you're disgusting. Ah, you're in surprise. You're in content. I just don't like this kid. I don't want you to be my friend. Example. Anger. How did you take my pen? I just don't like you touching my things. Fear. Oh my God, this is the bully of the class. I'm scared of her. I'm scared of him. This is fear. So these are the expressions where you don't have to tell somebody, but there is a science between facial expressions, and those expressions talk much better than words. Gestures. For example, you're smiling. Maybe you're not crying, but you're touching your eyes all the time and rubbing your tears off. When you are actually happy, say for example, you just saying click and showing both the fingers to your friends and saying yay. And you're showing it somebody like this, which means you're trying to take a pic or somebody is happy and you're just trying to capture the moment, etc. You're in love with somebody. You just show your hands on your heart and you just smile. It's more than sufficient than telling someone, I love you, I like you. Somebody showing an ear like this. A hand at your ear is something like, I don't understand, I don't hear you, I can't hear you. Examples. Somebody crossing fingers. Oh, I wish it comes true. And you don't have to say something. When you cross your fingers, your friends already know that you're wishing something happens. So these are all gestures, which is also part of nonverbal communication. It's not just about your facial expressions, but it is also your gestures, what you show with your hands is gestures, and that also communicates to the other person what you want to say. There are many times you friends look at each other in the classrooms without having to say a single word when the class is going on, the teacher is in the class. You look at each other and you know what the joke is, and you all laugh together. How? Either it's a facial expression or a gesture. You don't talk always, but they communicate what the other kid wants to tell you. Next one is a touch. When you go home as a younger kid, as a younger child, you used to run home, and as soon as you reach home from school, your mom would come and hug you. She wouldn't tell you, I love you, kid. You're my son or my daughter, and I love you. Just when she hugs you, you already know that she loves you. She's your mom, and you are her child, and she loves you a lot. That's touch. Sometimes a friend of yours is very sad. Something happened in their family, or he fell down while playing in the ground, or the teacher scolded him for something. You just go next, sit next to him and hold his hand or hold her hand, your friend's hand in your school. That's a touch. You just don't have to tell the other kid that, okay, friend, I'm actually sad because you're sad. I'm here for you. Just don't do any, you don't say any of those things. Just hold their hand and it tells them, this is my friend and my friend is with me even when I'm sad. And that touch makes a difference. But having to understand that there are cultures where touching is prohibited. For example, in Islamic world, touching somebody who is actually, even though they are your friend, if they're not from the same gender, you don't touch. So it is said in Islamic culture that touching is not approved. For example, okay, Asians, when the elders in the house touch the head of the kid and bless them, even if they don't say, bless you, my grandchild, the moment your grandparent touches your head and just puts their hand on your head, it actually means that they are blessing you. This is very common touch. So every type of touch has a different meaning. You need to understand that. In US, giving a handshake is a very common touch. It's just saying hello. Or a hug or a kiss on your cheek in Europe is very common. It just says hello. We are just professionals. It doesn't even mean to say that we are friends. High five, giving high five is like we both are best friends. So that's another way of giving a touch without even saying hi, hello, or anything. You just give a high five as soon as you walk into your class with a smile. That's like, hey, hi friend, hello, I'm here back to the class. We both are best friends. So these are the different types of nonverbal communication. One is facial expression, gestures, and touch. Next, we understand about proximity. Proximity is the distance between two people. And this talks a lot, or this communicates a lot. It's a part of nonverbal communication where there are no friends, where there are no words. Now, intimacy is when people actually sit very next to each other. In your classroom, you have a lots of groups. Every group has close friends amongst themselves. 2, 3 kids or 5 kids in each group are very close to each other. You're all friendly in a classroom of 30, but those 5, 6 kids are always very close to each other because they're best friends. Those besties don't sit very far off. In a lunch period, all of them sit together holding their food in their tiffin boxes together. They sit together and eat. They sit very close to each other because they're best friends. Their friendship is extremely intimate. When you go to your back to your home after the school, you probably sit in your mother's lap, or you sit very next close to your father, or you probably put your head on your grandmother's lap and sleep. You're almost touching them. Even if you don't touch them, you sit very close to them. Anything between 0 to 18 inches of distance is considered to be that you are very, very close to the other person, and it is a very intimate relationship. A personal relationship, like a family, for example, your uncles or aunts' families are in your house for a festival or a function. You have a lots of relatives in the house. You all are from a bigger family, but you may not be very close to all your cousins. Your all cousins may be sitting together and eating in a kitchen when all your mothers make some food for you. But is there a reason why you would sit very close to somebody, or you just have maintained certain distance between all your cousins, but you all sit together and eat? That's because you have a personal relationship with them, but you're not very close to them. That's when you sit like 18 inches to 4 feet distance between each of your cousins. That is called a personal relationship. You have a relationship, but it's not very close relationship. The third one is called social relationship. It's like um, now there is a school fest, annual day festival. There are students of all the classes who come to the festival, like for example, class 7, 8, 9 and 10. Each class has 30 kids and their parents are also invited. Everybody sits together in the auditorium. There is a dance program that happens and left, and then there is lunch served. I'm just giving you as an example. During the lunch serving time, nobody sits very close to each other, and they don't also sit even within 4 feet. Everybody sits around in the auditorium having their own food, but they maintain certain distance between each families or each type of classmates. Say the 8th class students and 10th class students may be having together in the auditorium in a same lunch room, but they may be maintaining distance between themselves because it's a social gathering of all the schools in all the classes in the high school, but they're not close friends. Again, probably All the 8th class students are close to each other, and all students of 9th class will be students together, but between 9th class and 8th class there is always a distance. That is called social. It is a social gathering, but it is neither personal nor close. Coming to public. Now, there is an inter-school competition. Your school is sending students from 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th, and similarly remaining school students from different colleges and different schools have come. They all have a public gathering. Everybody sit in their own chairs on an auditorium placed at whatever distance they are, but they are neither close to anybody nor not close to anybody. They're all coming from different schools and different areas and different states, districts of the state, but they all are together to attend a particular function and go back. That's a public gathering. So this, when you see a person, how close you sit next to them or you do not sit, actually communicates what kind of a relationship the two people are having. It also shows how close you are, whether it's just a personal relationship or it's a social gathering or it's a public gathering. So this kind of communication, where the proximity between two people talks a lot about their relationship other than the words. So there are no words here. How they are sitting together and having a cup of coffee shows you how intimate their relationship is. Next thing is eye contact. Eye contact is an extremely important thing in nonverbal communication. If you don't look into the eyes of a particular person when you're talking to them, it is actually said or believed that the other person is neither listening to you or he doesn't care for what you're talking to them, or it shows they're afraid of you because they cannot keep an eye contact or they don't have an attention span. So having an eye contact or not having an eye contact is also a part of non-verbal communication. The better communication, or if you want to have an effective communication, have an eye contact. Appearances. Appearances is about how well dressed, how well groomed you are. You don't go to a college party in a suit. If somebody is wearing a coat, a tie, and a suit, it better be a professional place where they are going for a meeting. The same with the lady here. If you are meeting friends, you better go in a jeans and a t-shirt rather than a coat or a tie and this. And you don't go in a jeans and a t-shirt to an office meeting. You go to an office meeting well dressed, either like the first person, the second person, or the fourth person. If it is a casual meeting in an office, or you are just going to office on a normal day where you getting dressed up is not important. Like most companies, for example, have a off day on every Fridays. They can come in casual dresses. They don't have to wear pants. They don't have to wear ties or coats. They can wear a jeans with proper shoes and a full shirt. Like this lady here who's wearing full pants and a full shirt. That is allowed on every Fridays. You don't really have to wear a coat and a tie. So having the right appearance for a right place is extremely important. That also speaks how much you respect the time, the meeting, or the profession that you are taking up. I'll give you a different example for appearance. It's not just about professional. If there is a funeral, you do not wear too much of jewelry and flashy clothes and go, because that will disrespect the person who left this world and moving to the other. That is disrespecting the family whose house is actually conducting the funeral, and it's disrespecting the members of that family. Another example, if you're going to a function or a celebration, you don't wear plain black clothes and wear mourning expression on your face and go. You wear according to your customs, whatever is the custom wear that you need to wear, you wear that and go to a celebration. You wear jewelry accordingly. You get dressed up accordingly because it's a celebration. So the occasion matters. Where you are going matters and what you wear matters. That is called appearance. This is also a part of your nonverbal communication. Let's repeat what we spoke. There are basically two types of communication: verbal communication and nonverbal communication. Under verbal communication, there are two types. One is speech, or the way what you talk, and another one is what you write, or writing skills. Nonverbal communication includes facial expressions, gestures with your hands, touch, how much is the distance between two people or proximity, and eye contact, appearance. These are all part of nonverbal communication. Let's have some exercises for you in your classrooms or with your friends. Exercise 1. Play a game of dumb charades, and after playing the game, say for one classroom period, take turns and explain which of the persons or students who actually played the dumb and was showing you with their gestures what was missed, how did they miss, what did they miss, who was better and why were they better. This explains you how somebody else's communication is better than the other even without words. That is nonverbal communication, how good it was, how and what can be improved. Take turns and explain how the communication can be improved without words, that is nonverbal communication. Example, can there be a rules showing how many number of words in the sentence that was given to the dumb to play for the other people? Will that help? Or any rules like that? Think aloud and explain each other. This is your first exercise to understand how nonverbal communication can be more effective and how can you learn nonverbal communication, make your communication much better. That's the end of exercise 1. Exercise 2. Play the audio speech. I have given the YouTube link here. This is meant for communication exercises, so please go through it and ask the students in the classroom to listen and write the answers. Give them 10 minutes after listening to this video or audio speech actually, and ask them to write answers 5 minutes after this. How many vegetarian dishes did the waiter list? This is the audio discussion or audio speech is about two people talking. One is a waiter and the other person is a customer in a hotel ordering for something. Now, there are only 3 questions that every student need to write. Give them 5 minutes to write this questionnaire. How many vegetarian dishes did the waiter list? Which dessert is non-vegetarian? And did the customer order the dessert straight away? Once all the answers are collected, the after activity discussion is, I'm 100% sure all the students will not get all the answers right. Now, the question is about everybody heard the audio speech at the same time. It was not played more than once. How did a kid understand better than the other student? So the question is, why didn't all the students get the right answers? Make smaller groups among the class and ask them to explain to each other why was that missed. Was the accent a problem? Was it too fast? Was it too slow? Or they did not understand the vocabulary that was being used in the speech? What went wrong? Why did the student get the answer wrong? That explains how and why vocabulary was important, the speed was important, the clarity and the conciseness of what the two people were talking in the audio speech was important. By understanding this, the activity is all about giving an opportunity to each of the students to understand what they lack in themselves and improvise it further for better communication in future. That's the end of exercise 2. Exercise 3. Ask each student to talk about themselves for 1 minute. That is, give 1 minute to each student Ask them to come to the dais in the classroom and talk about themselves, introduce themselves. This is an activity for all students in the classroom. After activity discussion, let the students vote whose speech was good and why. And the second thing is, was nonverbal communication while the student was talking about themselves for 1 minute, did that make any difference when all the students voted for a best student amongst them who was giving the better speech? Was nonverbal communication along with their vocabulary and speech make a better communication? If yes, what are the things that the best student had where what made it better from the worst student who gave the speech? So the activity is not about finding the best in the students and finding the worst in the students. The activity is about finding the differences between the effective communication and the non-effective communication and explaining it to the students for their improvisation. I wish this exercise gives them opportunity to understand what each of the students lack in themselves and improve themselves for effective communication in future. That is the end of exercise 3. Exercise 4. Make smaller groups in the class. Give one topic to each group, and each group need to write a newsletter on the topic given by the teacher to them and read it in the class the next day. Now, after activity discussion, out of all the groups, which group was speech was good and why? So it's a group effort. It was not an individual kid's effort. So the importance of this exercise is to have communication amongst a smaller group before they write the newsletter. And the other part is the student who is reading the newsletter in the class is also making it an effective communication. It's a group effort to write it. It's an effort of a single student to speak about it or read it along with verbal and non-verbal communication. So the idea is to understand how one group is better than the other group in their writing skills, in their reading skills or speech, and in their nonverbal communication. How was all these together making one group better than the other? So if there is a group which was not doing better, it is not about pointing out that this was the best group or that is the bad group. It is about pointing the differences between the effective communication and the non-effective communication and improvising all the students in the class to have better communication in the future. It also is important that it is discussed the concreteness of the newsletter. So if the topic demands concreteness and if there was no concreteness in the newsletter, then the teacher should explain what concreteness, what are the numbers and values and facts that were missing for that newsletter and encourage the kids to write them in future. That is the end of exercise 4. This is the end of the session. I wish you all learn very good communication and have a better profession and a better communicated lives in future. Thank you.